So how are you doing? Who are you?
I'm doing well. My name is Webbs. I am from Chicago. I've been commentating for almost 2 years now. As of May, it'll be 2 years. Well, I guess if you count like the first larger event I did, it'll be 2 years as of May. Yeah, people messaging my mustache right now. I haven't shaved it since like Friday. My facial hair is terrible. I should never ever grow it.
Mine's pretty bad
Yeah,
too.
yeah. No, I remember when you had yours grown out.
I did it
It's
for a month in November. So
You
where
did no shave November.
so where did you come from? Like all of a sudden, like I was like, oh, this Webs guy is pretty good, and now he's getting the top 8 and top 32 slots of nationals. So tell us about like your journey through commentary.
So I did broadcast communication for my major in college. I started off as a journalism minor or journalism major, and I switched it to my minor. And I did a lot of like on-camera stuff in college, so I was sort of comfortable just like having being on camera to begin with, and like I had a lot of experience just talking and being articulate. I took a couple speech classes beyond like basic speech, um, and I always played games and stuff. And I was tangentially aware of Smash, specifically Melee, as a competitive title because I played Halo 2 competitively back in like '04 to '06. So I went to MLG Chicago because it was like 30 minutes from my house. So like I remember watching the Melee players and stuff back then. But when I was in college, Joseph Fortman, Sveet, went to college with me, and I knew him because I was on my college's StarCraft 2 team.
Hmm.
Uh, I played Terran, and I was not very good back then. Um,
Boo.
I did eventually get masters, and then I switched to Zerg, and I got masters in like a quarter of the time because Zerg is busted in Wings of Liberty. But I digress. And so Sveet, I knew him from StarCraft 2 team, and then he always was talking about Melee. So um, I watched Evo, and like even before Evo 2013 and the doc and everything, he was like showing me Melee, and I thought it was cool, but I never really considered getting into it until like Evo and the doc. So I guess I'm like sort of a doc kid.
Oh wow.
uh, yeah. So and then I started going to these locals in Chicago. I went to school like an hour away from Chicago, hour and a half probably actually, out in DeKalb, which is like just west of Chicago. So me and a couple other guys from school would drive out every Wednesday night and just play Melee at these locals, and I would get my ass kicked. And then one of them, oh really, he's a pretty good Falcon, so he
Yeah.
would make like losers finals or grand finals every time, so I'd have to wait. And during all that waiting time, uh, Windy City Smash was still an organization back then, so they would just have like a little stream setup with just like a ball mic, just a stand mic, and then
Yeah.
people would just come and sit down and talk into it. And I had nothing else to do, so I would just do that. And I did that for 3 months. Let me see, because late May was when I did UFGTX top 8 with D1, and that was like my breakout. And that was May, so January, February. Yeah, because late February is when I started going to stuff. So yeah, it was about for 3 months, and then I just like went to UFGTX, and somehow I did like pools, and Gimmer liked me for pools for Melee. And he's asked me, he's like, "Hey, do you want to do top 8?" And I was like, yeah, I guess. I don't know." And it went really well, and everybody liked it. And then I just kept getting opportunities. It was pretty weird. The timing of it all was very fortunate.
Mm.
Yeah,
And then you got flown out to PAX.
I did. That's actually the second time I've gotten flown out to anything. I got flown to Umicon in Michigan too, which was a much smaller event, but they flew me to that as well. So I've been flown to two things at this point, which is kind of cool.
Very cool. So I
Hmm.
think you've had one. Actually, I think most commentators had a very rapid rise because like we haven't had commentary regularly for a large part of the history of Melee. Most of our older videos were just gameplay and nothing else.
Yeah.
So it seems like you have a lot of opinions on Smash commentary. So I guess we'll start off with this. What's your biggest pet peeve of the notion of commentary in the Smash community? And we'll work from there.
So you want me to talk about what the way commentary is perceived?
We'll start with like what's the biggest misperception within the community that irks you the most, and we'll start that as a talking point.
Um, well, there's so many different ways that people approach commentary in like how they like it. So everyone expects it to fall into like certain categories that I don't know, people always think that they can define it so easily. So, for instance, people just love to throw around the word esports. And every time somebody says like esports commentary, in their head, they know what they mean, but they're not actually saying what they mean, right? And it means something different to everybody else. So when you say I hate esports commentary, or like, that was esports, or that esports commentary wasn't so bad, you literally aren't saying anything at all that is relevant or that has any meaning to anybody else. If you want to actually be criticized, like constructively, if you want to constructively criticize someone or give feedback in a positive manner, you need to use specific examples. It's like very similar to when people talk about gameplay. Like it's so easy when you're playing the game and you're talking to someone and they give you like this general idea of like, oh, your neutral's bad. Like what that doesn't mean anything. So then you give them specific examples. You say this is what's bad about your neutral. Or in this situation, this is where you struggle, or you keep going to the same option over and over again. And then you can fix that. With commentary, it's like a much more vague and conceptual thing, so it's more difficult to like zone in on exactly what it is. But it can be done if you know what to look for. So like right now, the way people hear commentary and they don't know how to say what they don't like about it. They just pretty much say they don't like it and then no one improves as a result. And it's just sort of like a negative feedback loop.
But well, it seems like you mentioned that no one's improving, so there's things that from what that statement is
Well, that's not
implying.
true. It's not that no one's improving. It's that the feedback that most people are giving does not help them improve. When they
Okay.
improve, it's usually on their own and it's usually a natural improvement instead of a targeted one. Because as far as I can tell, or as far as I've heard, most people don't actively, rewatch or re-listen to their own commentary more than once or twice. Like that's what I did when I first started. Is I would re-listen to my commentary a couple times just to get a general idea. And a lot of it was just to sort of correct things that I said wrong, so I would like know what I was doing wrong.
So that's like
Um,
really vague because like that's the equivalent of a Smash like expert saying, "Oh yeah, I just watch my own replays and I look at my neutral game." Like, can you give us
yeah.
just some examples of like
So
what do you mean by
here's what
that?
I like when I did UFGTX, I got it was all positive feedback, and that's something I guess that a lot of that I've experienced that no other commentator has is I never get negative feedback about my commentary, so I actively have to go and look for things that I want to improve on. And I'm not trying saying that to brag or anything. It's just nobody's ever gotten a hold of me and said like, "Hey man, you did a bad job this weekend. I hate you." I've never gotten something like that. So I guess I'm fortunate in that regard. But so what I ended up doing was I would go back and I would listen specifically for like things that I said incorrectly. Um, Either I stumbled on a word and like I said up air instead of up smash when clearly it was like the other thing because maybe I wasn't focused on the gameplay or I incorrectly quoted frame data or whatever, and I would just try to correct incorrect things that I had said, like factual things mostly. Because that's, I think, the base floor for commentary is you're just not wrong about shit. Because when you're wrong about stuff, that's just bad commentary. So you just start there and you start by being correct, and then you can move on. Because who cares if you sound like professional or you sound hype or you're bringing a lot of energy. I guess you can kind of get away with it with like hype and energy sometimes. But if you're wrong about stuff too, it's a negative. And some people won't see that because they'll hear the wrong thing and then they won't know that it's wrong, especially newer players. And then that's just bad overall because then you're spreading misinformation.
Mm. So you mentioned like I think you have your opinions, but like with the prominent commentators that exist, we're I think far and away from being perfect. And what are like some of the
Yep.
low hanging fruit that you think that we can improve on overall? It's a broad
Um,
question that you can take in many directions.
yeah, let's see, low-hanging fruit where we can improve. Um, so there's the Twitter account, SSB Commentator. You know that, right? Everybody's aware of SSB commentator.
I am aware of that and typical smasher.
Right, and typical smasher. So, I actually am the guy who runs SSB commentator. For anybody, I don't think anyone really knows that. Um, and I started the account, and I didn't think it would blow up because I started the account because I was listening to some of my old commentary, and saying nice back air over and over again was something that I hated about my own commentary. So I just started the account and then I tweeted it as like a knock on myself because I was going to use it as like a way to improve my own commentary. It was like everything that I did bad, I would say on the Twitter account, and chat's blown up right now. It's the bomb. I'm the one who runs it. So everything that I said, bad, I would say it on the Twitter account, and then it would be like sort of like an open journal. And I thought, maybe it was kind of a funny parody account, but Gimmer blew it up. Gimmer retweeted it like right away and made it huge. So
That's actually one thing. If I'm gonna toot my own horn, I think that's actually one thing I really love about Scar. Like he can easily meme himself. He kind of does, but like even his like walk up slowly, like he never repeated ever again.
yeah, Scar is actually one of my favorite commentators to listen to. He's probably in my top three for commentators.
Who are the other two?
Top three. Bob Money is actually one of my favorites of all time. I realize modern stuff, but like as far as like OG, like super good, informative and fun, a lot of energy. And he always, what I really liked about him was that he would always communicate effectively with his co-commentator. Even back in like those old days of just like hype and screaming into the mic and stuff, he was like the original guy who really brought synergy to commentary. So I really like Scar. I would love old Bob Money. Old Bob Money is a lot of stuff that I listened to when I first started. Am I leaning back too far? Sorry, maybe my.
No, it's my. I frame drop like at a moment, so sometimes I lag. So it's not your fault. And who's the third one? So you mentioned Bob Money. You mentioned Scar.
Yeah, I know Scar and Bob Money are definitely in there. The third one's tough. Third one, it might be Toph, but I'm not sure.
That's a very reluctant third pick. I feel like
I think actually probably no. I haven't really thought about this in a concrete fashion. I shouldn't have brought up a top three list.
Lovage Wobbles.
No, it's not Lovage. I was thinking Wobbles. It's what? I think I will go with Wobbles. Effort to improve something that really brought him back in the past was that he was terrible at working with other people. But he's totally aware of that, and he's definitely, especially, I listened to him in Waffles, him and Homemade Waffles at Pound from this past weekend. I listened to it last night, and he did such a much better job than he has in the past.
Yeah.
And then up there also are like Toph, Homemade Waffles. Phil's pretty good. I think Phil struggles in certain areas, but he's not like a dedicated commentator. It's not like he puts effort into it or anything. So for what he does, he's like amazing.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I feel like the really good commentators can thrive in multiple scenarios and kind of adapt. I think you're pretty good at that. I'm not very good at that. You put me with another like low energy type of guy and like it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like when we did PAX Arena, I actively tried to like bring more energy and like create a dialogue between us. And I think it did work pretty well. I think you're selling yourself short when you say that it wasn't that great.
Well, that's because of your like adaptability.
Yeah, I guess, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's important. Like what do you think the difference is between like a person that can adapt well and a person that just doesn't have synergy? Because that's something I brought up earlier in the stream where I kind of hate the duality of play-by-play and color being like the ideal couple, where it's I think just like who has synergy is more important.
I don't really know what it is that makes it that some people have better synergy with co-commentators than others, and there's some people who like will have good synergy with certain people and then not any synergy with other people because they're not adaptive. I think probably a big part of that is just being able to pay attention both in game and out of game. Um, Actually, I was in a Discord chat like a week or two ago talking about commentary with some people, and I was talking about like really basic key components to being like an overall well-rounded commentator. And one of them that I really think is super important that a lot of people will lack either one or the other of these is they will be really good at paying attention in game, and they'll see like adaptations and the way that both players are approaching the matchup relative to the matchup as a whole. Like for instance, how different foxes will play in, Fox Jigglypuff versus how those foxes will play in uh like fast faller matchups like Fox Falcon or Fox Falco. But they won't be as good at relaying back and forth with their co-commentator. And then there's some guys who are really good at bouncing ideas with their co-commentator. Like I'll use, excuse me, JV and Neptune as a great example of this because those guys have sick out of game synergy. They're really good at like having fun with each other and creating a great dialogue and bringing energy to the cast. But they lack knowledge in certain areas, and when they're really focusing on trying to be an entertainment duo, they don't bring much analysis, or they kind of get the analysis wrong. Um, I tell you what, I remember watching JV and Neptune when they first started on Monday Night Melee's. Like, I don't know, that was probably over a year ago now. And God, they were awful when they first started. They're kind of fun to listen to because they had a little bit of synergy going on. But they improved a lot overall, especially in the synergy, and their game analysis got a little bit better. Definitely still not like amazing melee commentators, but the steps they took steps that a lot of other people don't ever take, which is they actually put effort into learning things.
Yeah.
So
I think it kind of sucks because like first impressions mean a lot in the world of commentary, and
it's huge.
It's hard to undo like a bad session.
Yeah, people will bring that back on you all the time. It's the same way as like if you see a certain player at a national and you don't watch regional or local streams, you're the kind of Smash watcher who will watch the big tournaments but not the small ones. You see how they do at one tournament, and then that's your opinion of them,
And it doesn't even leave like even if you've like done well like the next like 3 events like you're still gonna get trashed for quite a while.
Yeah.
So do you have a routine if you're with a new commentator before? Because it's been kind of like a pet peeve of mine where like I think Fendrick Lamar has been doing a good job, but sometimes like I look at the pairings and it doesn't make sense, which could be like a more of a schedule thing or more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have a routine if you're with a newer person that you've never co-commentated before?
I don't have like a set one. I usually just let them talk a little bit more early on. Hold on. Sorry, I'm still coming off some disease I caught on last Friday. By the way, if you got sick at Pound this weekend, that was probably me. I was super sick all weekend, so sorry about that. But with new commentators, I'll just let them talk a little bit more in the beginning, and I won't focus on the gameplay as much. Maybe I'll pose a question or two to them. Nothing specific. I don't want to put them on the spot.
Yeah.
But just to give them, because sometimes they'll be scared too that they don't want to like talk about certain things, or they're like intimidated. I don't know what's going through their heads. So you try to set up with a nice softball that makes them comfortable, and then you create a dialogue between them, and then once the two of you are like working well together, you can start doing a little bit more in-game stuff. But there's in Smash commentary, a lot of people hear it where it's just like there's very general points in every matchup and between players that you can always talk about, and it doesn't make for great commentary, but it's a bit of a gap filler while you're working with somebody new, and it's not terrible to recite the stock count now and again, as long as you're not saying it every time somebody dies,
So
you have to pick and choose what you're gonna focus on.
So I think the softball is like it's one of the most underrated techniques of commentary. So can you elaborate on like how you go about that?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty easy. Like, for instance, one of the things that is a really basic facet of a matchup is you can just talk about who's approaching and who's not approaching, or when someone's choosing to approach. So you can like just say, oh, I noticed. See that fox right there? He keeps approaching with Nair against this Peach. And the peach is missing crouch cancel. It's important that the peach recognize that crouch cancel against Nair is a great move. And then you say, and what could he do to change up that approach option, or just something simple like that. If he doesn't know the answer to that question, he probably shouldn't be commentating with you.
Yeah. And then if they're comfortable with that, then you ask like deeper and deeper questions.
I don't actually like to ask them any more questions after that. Oh. That's just sort of something to get them comfortable and get them talking if they're not talking. Then sometimes you run into the newer commentators who will talk too much. And sometimes you need to pair them back, especially if they're saying misinformation. So you don't want to call them out and be like, you're wrong. You can say, well, are you sure that Sheik's back air comes out on frame 6? You might want to... It might not be, it is a fast move, I understand. Frame 6 might be a little late, blah, blah, blah. You don't ever want to explicitly get into an argument with somebody. Or, call them out or whatever, especially if you're on the mic, like, next to them. And it can be real bad. Especially, like, at the beginning of a set, you don't want to set a tone like that. Which is also funny, actually, because that was something that Blur and I did at PAX Arena, was we argued about, like, 3 things during our, like, our block in top 32. It was pretty bad.
I think certain pairs can kind of get away with it if they have that banter going. But
yeah, that's rare. True. Like Scar and Tuff can do that whenever they want, because those guys are hilarious to listen to banter about stuff. So, but like 2 guys who are like really trying to like dig into the matchup, and then they find something that they disagree on about it, they'll both be like on either side, just like butting heads super hard. So
I can imagine like banter between like Ladandis and a Falcon Mean being really funny if they specifically commentated Sheik Falcon.
It might just turn into a digression where they won't even pay attention to the match, though, so you got to watch out for that too. But yeah, that would be hilarious.
So you mentioned a commentary no, one of them being arguing, because it ruins confidence and it kills the chemistry, especially for a newer pair. What are some other no-nos that you would say? What are the web smash no-nos? I don't know how many there are.
I don't like when people try to give too specific data, especially if you're not sure on it. Even if you are sure on it, be careful with it. And especially if it's an opinion. If I hear another commentator give a percentage on a matchup ever again, I will lose my shit. Don't ever come on commentary and be like, this was actually my latest tweet on Smash Commentator, or SSP Commentator, was commentator gets on the mic, this matchup is 60-40. Like, you're already setting yourself up right there to be called out on stuff, for people to disagree with you. You're just setting a dumb, like, concrete opinion. And 60-40 doesn't mean anything. You're just assigning random numbers based on some, like, meta idea that you have in your head that you can't, like, conceptualize and make other people understand, because it's just something in your head that you've come up with. In your head, you go, well, Sheik edgeguards Falcon a little harder, so I think that's worth an extra 5 points. So yeah, 60-40 instead of 55-45. So, like, being really specific can be dangerous. I don't want to say it's a complete no-no, but you need to, like, definitely be wary with that kind of thing, because you're definitely setting yourself up for failure. Yeah. Also, on the other end of that, being way too general and not actually saying anything of substance is also a huge no-no. Like, no DI coming in hot with this matchup is pretty volatile. Like, saying a matchup is volatile is also just, like, a terrible thing to say. It can actually be okay to say something is volatile if the players are playing it in such a manner that they're being super aggressive and just, like, attacking each other with little regard for neutral game. Then it's volatile, because, like, somebody's just going to get hit and kill the other guy. Like, but when you talk about, like, an actual matchup, like, you can't, like, you should talk more specifically about parts of the matchup that the characters struggle with, why they struggle with it, ways they can overcome it, things of substance that people can relate to.
Anything else?
For no-nos?
Yeah. I was hoping that you continue to spit truth.
Man, there's just whenever I talk about this kind of stuff, I get in, like, these zones where I'll talk about something and I'll just be like, boom, boom, boom. But there's so many ideas and things I have in my head that I don't have them written down anywhere.
Okay, one at a time. First thought that's coming up right now in your head.
Okay, so people ask me for advice on commentary, And it's, the same thing when people will come up and ask you about advice in a matchup. What do I do as Sheik in the Marth matchup? A million things. So when someone asks me for advice on commentary, there are like certain points that I like to make with them. And this is for everybody out there who wants to commentate at all. Number one, if you're going to commentate, actually pay attention to what's happening in and out of game. I talked a little bit about it earlier, how it's important to be able to relate with your co-commentator as well as analyze what's going on in game. But actually paying attention to how they're playing the matchup, how they're adjusting, whether they even are adjusting, um, whether or not someone won the matchup based on execution tests where like you're just hoping that you're being patient until your opponent makes a mistake and then punishing them for that, or if they're trying to play in a more difficult fashion where they force mistakes on you, which is higher rewarding and it puts you in more control, then also is more difficult to execute. Uh, just the general idea here is actually pay attention, because so much commentary, especially at the local level, people aren't paying attention. They really aren't. They're watching it and they're seeing what's happening on screen, but they're not registering anything in their brain. It's not like they actually are making a connection and then relaying meaning information to the viewers. They're just a sounding board for what's happening right now. So actually paying attention is like super important. The other thing I always say to people who ask me for commentary advice is that you shouldn't try to emulate a style when you commentate. You should try to do something that is entertaining, because commentary is there to enhance the gameplay. It's not there to like describe what's happening or to like just be like a boring like background noise. If I just wanted to like most commentary is, I could just like set it aside and just watch the game with no commentary and just game sound and just be happy. So if you're going to be commentating, bring something to the table. It doesn't have to be deep analysis. It can be fun, especially at the local or regional level even. You can have more fun with it, especially if you've got a guy who you're friends with on the mic, and you guys are having a good time or whatever. But, be there to make the stream better and to be entertaining in some fashion, rather than just, doing it for yourself or just doing it to do it. Okay, that's all I've got for right now. You have any other questions?
I think that's good. I think one thing that I think if I were to add to this is like my frustration, and I really apologize. I forgot his name. The co-commentator I worked with, because like it didn't like, because you brought up a point of like being present, right? And I felt like the guy sitting next to me had this like checklist of memes or like cliche statements that he wanted to say, and it was like, oh, like look at me,
bingo board.
Like literally like felt like he was trying to think, okay, where can I fit these stock phrases from a list into like the commentary. He wasn't trying to meme, but like he thought like, well, like I'm not sure if this is his intention, was like just like replicate what like everybody else says. So I think those were some like really good points. What do you do when like the person's interpretation of intentions are wrong in a match?
That's tough. So for instance, give me like an example for what you mean. Let's say you're doing an SSS and you're commentating with someone, like your co-commentator is like
random.
Just, I'm not saying who they are, I'm saying what they're saying. So let's say like in a matchup, well, like Sheik Fox, what would they be saying incorrectly? Like, give me a situation.
Let me think.
Okay.
Or like we watched like West Ball's Lucky, right? And it's like, oh yeah, like West Ball's pulled this really nice combo. He's really playing aggro right now. Where like in reality, he's kind of just like fishing for Lucky to go in and then stuff it with the and back air.
He's like lasering, dancing outside of him until Lucky shields, and then he like attacks his shield.
Or he just waits for Lucky to go in and he up tilts, and that's like the match.
yeah. Just plays defensive and waits till Lucky gets impatient. Man, that's tough. Sometimes people will say things that are patently incorrect, and you just have to step away from it and let them be wrong. Not engage in the incorrectness. because it'll be something. Well, they will. If you try to correct them, it'll take too much time, or it'll detract. It'll detract more from the commentary more than it will enhance it
Yeah.
or correct it. So, those situations happen. You can't always fix it. Um, Sometimes you just have to let it go and pray to God that people don't associate you with the bad commentary.
Oh gosh. Sometimes I just wish I could like leave.
I know. Well, you can. Nobody's stopping you, but I don't know if it would reflect well on your character.
But then you get two randoms instead, and it just like
It's
goes
yeah,
down.
and then it's even worse.
Like I'm not like a good. I don't consider myself like a great commentator, but like
Mhm.
sometimes I'm at the venue and then they're like, "Why don't you get on the mic?" I'm just like, Anyway,
Yeah, I know
um,
what you mean. Here's something that I was thinking about. So, not this weekend, but the weekend after it, I will be at Full Bloom 2 in Indiana, and there's gonna be a couple other high profile players. Excuse me, sorry. I shouldn't say other high profile players because I'm not a high profile player. Full Bloom 2, but there will be some high profile players there.
well, you could be.
Axe, what's that?
You could be. I mean, This high profile mean like you're like a top tier player.
That's what I interpret it as, yeah. Yeah, that's coming up April 16th. Axe, sorry, not Hacks. Lucky, Homemade Waffles, Dark Atma, Kells is going. Probably some more Midwestern killers. I don't know about Michigan. I think Michigan might be going to Fight Pit that day. Oh, what did I do? Oh, there we go. But I was down in the same area of Indianapolis like a month ago for another tournament that they had, the name of which I forget. I apologize, Indiana Smash. They've actually been doing a good job stepping it up with their regionals lately. But I wasn't really having a good tournament. I played okay. I got like 25th or whatever. But I had drove down there all the way down there by myself, and like I was kind of having a shitty day.
Yeah.
And then when it came to like top eight commentary time, there were like these two guys. I think it was Yamham and another guy. I can't remember who was commentating at the time. Shout outs to Yamham. What's up, dude? But they had been doing like top 16 or top 32 up until that point. And Juna, the guy who runs Melee every day, he was like, "Who do you want to do top eight with?" And I was just like, "I don't want to commentate with anybody. Just let me go solo." So I like kicked both of them off and just was like commentating solo. And I think Vero came over eventually after he got eliminated and commentated with. But I think that is a bad thing to do at like a local or regional level. Because that's an opportunity for me to try to improve those guys' commentary. They'd been putting in effort all day. They had done a lot of commentary up until that point. There have been several people rotating in and out of it. And I don't want to have to choose who I do top eight with, but I should have let them decide, like, and then I can talk to that person and be like, "Hey, listen, here's kind of how we'll go about it. You just do your thing like usual, and then I'll just, work along with you, and then I can talk to you afterwards and try to help you improve." And I think that's something that I'm going to try to do more in the future. Because that was kind of a selfish thing that I did, and I felt bad about it for like a while afterwards. But if you have the means to try to like improve your local commentary scene, whether or not you're a good commentator yourself, like you can still help improve it, just by telling that commentator in a constructive manner what you don't like about their commentary or what you think they did wrong, or if they said wrong information, just letting them know that. I think that's something that can be done overall to improve Smash commentary, is just being honest, and not in a way of opinion, in a way of fact. Because, I guess it has to be opinion in some way, but if they're factually wrong about things, you can tell them about that too.
Yeah.
That was just kind of an aside that I had that I was thinking about.
So you come from a background like, I feel like there are certain self-awareness things. Maybe you do know. Like you mentioned that, like, you've taken voice lessons. You have kind of this like academic background that,
I mean, I haven't really taken voice lessons.
or you mentioned
I,
taking classes and
yeah, in school, it was like production classes, but then as part of the class, you would have to be, on camera sometimes. And then I volunteered to do like on camera stuff too. Yeah.
so your voice presence and I guess the technical aspects of speaking that
Mhm.
go underrated because you're good at it. What are some things that you've picked up from those experiences that you transferred to Smash or that you see other Smash players can improve in?
Hmm.
Not so we're not really talking about technical knowledge here. We're talking about things that make a good presenter.
Like good speaking patterns and measured speaking. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, when I was a kid, my parents had me reading books at like a really early age. And then I volunteered for like these read out loud class things when I was in high school to younger kids. So I did a lot of just reading out loud back then too. And just by tempering my speech, by reading ahead in sentences and knowing what I was going to say, and then being able to, use the correct tone and inflection when I actually read the sentence, it was like really good practice. Um, So when I commentate, I always know what at least the general idea of what I'm going to say is before I actually say it. And that makes it easy for me to um, know the tone or uh, like sometimes I'll start sentences and be like three-quarters of the way through them and I know the end idea, but I'll get stuck on a word in the middle that I want to say. Uh, but just knowing what you're going to say ahead of time is like the main thing with being confident in your speaking. I don't know if this is something other people struggle with. I don't really know the way other people speak. That's kind of an abstract concept now that I think about it.
Well, it's
I
like
hadn't really thought of it until this point.
well, like from what I'm aware of, I think Riot puts all their commentators in some sort of voice classes of some sort, and you look at all the good presenters, they have certain characteristics that a random Joe Schmo on the street wouldn't have, right? They have. I think when we think of like a good speech, like there's certain characteristics that come out, but when we listen to it, we're not immediately going to point those things out as much.
Hmm.
And where was I going to go with this point? So I think there's like a lot of little things that you do very well, but because you do it so well, you don't really pay attention to unless it's like noticeably bad in someone else.
I
Like for
guess I
me,
kind of don't have advice in that regard then because I just do it naturally.
gosh dang. Okay, that sucks. Because for me,
Just be better, people.
because for me, I talked to you about PAX. Like my voice sounds like a nasally frog,
Your
and
voice is not as bad as you think it is,
I,
Tafo.
maybe it's just
You know
because
what it
everybody
is?
gets.
Your voice itself is not as bad as you think it is, but I think because you think that your voice is bad, that your speech patterns suffer as a result.
So it's a self-fulfilling
Yeah,
prophecy.
that's just my guess. That's what it seems like. I A lot of the times when you talk, you get halfway into like your ideas or phrases, and your like the tempo at which you're speaking will be stuttered or like not smooth. I think if you not so much worried about your voice, but just worried about how your delivery and how like smoothly you get it. Why are we frogging up chat right now?
Because they think my voice sounds like a frog.
Oh. Shit. Yeah, I'll OS frog for that one. There we go. Yeah, I think you can just work on your delivery.
But what does that mean?
So, listen to the way that I say the sentence that I'm about to say.
Okay.
Tafo, I think that what you mainly struggle with is thinking too much about your voice and not necessarily the way that you deliver the sentence you're about to speak. You see that, the way I said that? Pauses are very common in my pattern of speech, and then it'll be like, I pause, but then I say a bunch of words all at once that I've prepared during that pause. And I'm just now thinking about this as I'm saying it. So this is not something I've thought about before. So this is kind of weird to analyze. But it's just, I don't know, it's just natural to me, I guess. But
Nice.
when you listen to the way that I talk, do you understand what I'm saying though about that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. This is kind of a boring topic.
You think it's boring?
I don't actually. But I feel like people watching might find it less interesting.
Okay,
Chat, let me know if you like me talking about this stuff.
I think it's a fair topic because
Yeah, Treeloke doesn't like it. He says it's boring af. Sorry, Treeloke.
I think a lot of it is because of the tempo of Smash.
Mm-hmm.
That like I have an idea and it's formulating in my head, so I'm actually doing it right now, where I'm realizing that I'm pausing midway. So actually, that's a really good, helpful tip. But because I'm going more on the larger scale thing and I'm observing and processing all at the same time, there's a delay where I'm like noticing a certain pattern in it, and then there's an action that occurs that may defy it, and I have to wait a little bit rather than just say it outright.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
well, we're
You,
like,
you you can develop your sentence. You don't have to have the entire thing you're going to say ready beforehand. You can have part of it, and then you can have the end of it. I think you always have to have the end idea. You can't start a sentence without knowing what you want to finish with. But the way you get there along the way, you can take a pause and then close it out
yeah.
with like the last amount of words all in a row that you've been thinking of.
So like the issue may come where I'm noticing, Hax is not missing any L cancels, not giving Nintendo any and then like midway Hax misses an L cancel, gets like wobbled or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then do I drop that sentence or do I move on to?
I mean, that's all dependent, especially in Melee, because like you said, it's so fast. And this is why I think play-by-play and like color commentary and like notions of commentators fulfilling certain roles has no place in Smash commentary in particular. Fighting game commentary overall, but Smash is fast even in the realm of fighting games because there are more smaller interactions. Whereas in fighting games, there's a lot of positioning and like very small interactions that are not direct interactions where you're influencing each other based on matchup and positioning and reach of certain moves and prediction, what you think their mix-ups are going to be, so on and so forth. But in Smash, there's all these little interactions you constantly have to explain, and you have to pick out the ones that you think are the ones that will have the most the best impact on the audience and how they will be able to better understand and appreciate the match. So sometimes you'll drop that sentence. Sometimes you'll have the time to talk about it, especially like in your example with wobbling. Well, you can just say it. You can add whatever you want to during that time.
What's the last thing you've done on an extended wobble?
The last thing that I talked about during an extended wobble,
Yeah.
Dude, the best thing to do during wobbles is just look at the player cams and see reactions. Like that's always the best thing to talk about. Especially because you can always go back to it if there's multiple wobbles during a game to see how players initially react and then how their demeanor changes or if it changes at all. Because sometimes you'll see like players who will be like dancing to the wobble or whatever, or they'll just be nodding and just like waiting. Some guys will set their controller down, but most of them won't continue that interaction throughout the entire set on each time they get wobbled. Like they'll usually tighten up where they'll shake their head once or like they'll reel back in their chair or they'll mash really hard all of a sudden. Some of them will be mashing the entire time they're getting wobbled to try to throw their opponent off, and then later in the set they won't be mashing anymore. So it's almost always good to just talk about like the player cam when someone's getting wobbled.
Did you love Plup's reaction on the last one?
Yeah, I didn't like it. It made me sad. Plup made me sad throughout the tournament because he did not seem happy with a lot of the outcomes.
He looked like he didn't want to be there after like winners.
Right. And then he tweeted about how he needed a break, and it just made me sad overall. But the double middle finger one was good. I like that. That one was funny, at least.
Much better than the Mewtwo King sad face at Genesis.
Oh, God. That was so sad. I was standing behind the commentators, so I was looking past the TV right at Mewtwo King during that, because that was like the last set of that day. It was like Mewtwo King getting wobbled. Everyone's just standing there, and he's just shaking his poor head. Oh, that was even sadder than when Plup got wobbled. Wobbling makes for sad people. That's for sure.
It's not like a rest where like it's like you're being placed in timeout by your parent, and your parent is making you realize what you did wrong, and you have to bask in it for the next 15 seconds.
Ooh, that's such a good example too, because so many kids, instead of reflecting on their mistakes, will just spend that time getting mad about their parents, right? And that's people who get wobbled and then they just get mad about it and don't like think about how they got wobbled. They'll continue to make those mistakes. So that's a good analogy. I like that.
Are you gonna use it?
Yes, you can use it too if you want.
Awesome.
Hmm.
Let's see. Are there any other thoughts I have pertaining to commentary?
I'm trying to think if there was anything I wanted to touch. We hit most of the stuff that I usually talk about when it comes to commentary. If there's anybody in the Discord that I'm in here that has any ideas, because I was talking about this at length
Well, I am.
just a week or two ago.
So I am experimenting with a module on my Tafo stats website,
Okay.
but like, it's not related to stats. But basically, what you would do is you'd put up the YouTube link as a commentator or as a player, and it embeds it. And then the comments section is actually going to have an upvote, downvote, and you can categorize if you're doing like commentary feedback. You can categorize the tag and say like gameplay related, flow, synergy, or whatever tag you want to emphasize, and then write a comment with a timestamp. And if you click the timestamp, it will show the moment. So it's a really specific feedback system saying like, oh, at 26 seconds this was really good, or at 42 seconds your synergy was really good here, or didn't like
That
the
is a
comment.
really targeted feedback system. Wow.
Um, of course, I would make it private, like with a
Uh-huh.
select group of people. But I'm originally in developing this for gameplay.
Okay.
But I think it's adaptable to commentary
Yeah,
too.
definitely. That's a pretty cool idea, actually.
Of course, it can get really vile, so like I can't make it fully public. So it's like something I'm
You're like,
testing
yeah,
out.
people will abuse the shit out of it if you make it public,
Yeah.
especially if it's like you create an account system, so it's all anonymous.
Well, you could create an account, and then what I was gonna do is um, prepare with like an up, down, and report system,
Mm-hmm.
so that I
Okay.
can.
Yeah, of course. It'd be like YouTube, like old YouTube comments, kind of. The YouTube comments of yore when you could thumbs up and thumbs down things, and there were top comments available on each video.
So I was thinking of that as an idea.
That's
Um,
pretty cool. I like it.
so hopefully it comes out soon. I'm also making a private forum for improvement, and the layout I'm working on is like looks like really nice and interactive. But it
Yeah.
probably will have an upper ceiling of like 500 people before the discussion goes to garbage.
Yeah, I think so we have the Smash Commentators Facebook group, and that thing just doesn't get used. Let me look how many members it has. I mean, literally, when was even the last post in that thing?
It was a
Smash
good
Com-
idea, and
621 members. The last post was made by Matt Demers. Shout outs to Matt on March 28th, and he was just pimping out an article he wrote on ESPN. Oh no, that was on his private website. Before that, AshCon posted on March 3rd. Uh, oh, about the hey, that's a cool thing to plug. Oh, that's happening later tonight too. So, Chroma09 has been doing commentary workshops on the SD Melee TV Twitch channel, and I think he's doing another one tonight. Is that right, Jake? Are you in here? Can you confirm or deny?
they said after we do our commentary section that they're gonna stream on SD
Are they
Melee.
gonna hop right into that? Then?
Yeah, that's what they said on Twitter.
All right. Yeah. I watched a little bit of the last one, which turned into like a celebration stream because they got partnered. So it was started off pretty constructive, and then it turned into people just subbing and making them do shots, which was fun too.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah, but they're pretty solid overall. So
So
uh,
D1 was asking what we thought about top 8. So I think
at
I talked
pounds.
about it a little bit earlier. Like,
Mhm.
wasn't perfect, could have been better. So let's be the better people here and say like specific. Like if we're gonna practice what we preach, I guess like what would we identify as things that could have been done better?
So I listened to. Let's see. I left the venue during the second losers quarters match because I had to catch a flight on Sunday night. Um, in my lift to Dulles International, I think I listened to Mango Plup commentary and then a little bit of Hacks Mango. Losers finals. Yeah, I think I might have listened to like part of game one of that. But then I got to the airport and I had to go through all kinds of security and stuff. And then my phone died, so I couldn't even watch grand finals.
Ah,
I know, it really sucked. Um, but from what I heard during what do we call it? Oh, Mango Swedish Delight. Um, they both definitely bring like this very specific energy where they are excited about the game, which is like a great starter. You have to bring energy in some fashion. It doesn't necessarily have to be excitement. It can be like a hype kind of energy where cool things happen and you pop off about it. But especially, I think they bounce off each other really well, where they go, "Yeah, that was cool. That was definitely cool," and then they'll talk a little bit about it. Um, a lot of the complaints that I saw from people were about factual inaccuracies, which I definitely heard several of. Um, I can't give you specific examples right now because, I mean, I'm in an Uber, listening on like one headphone while my driver's like trying to talk to me. I'll have to go back and rewatch it. But
mm.
there were some, I don't think there were anything super egregious in that specific set. Um, hmm.
I think the
I
whole credibility thing was lost early. And I think, as we mentioned earlier, like once you
Yeah,
lose that with the audience, it's really hard to recover.
that is once you say one too many wrong things, people will just look for them at that point. Like you can't get not even like frame data, but just like general current day knowledge incorrect because people will hone in on that and then look for that. And you're pretty much lost at that point once people are sold on hating you because they're just going to pick out reasons not to like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I felt so bad because my April Fool's Armada post?
Yeah. Oh, I saw that. Oh, husband, no.
I felt so bad because husband believed that Armada
He
was a
didn't.
so
He
impeachment.
wasn't in on the April Fool's joke, man. And then Armada replied, and it was just like, oh no. Oh God. Yeah, that was unfortunate. Did they talk about that on the commentary at all?
No, unfortunately not, or else that would have went really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But husband like kind of had gave the impression that he didn't know who S2J was.
Didn't know who S2J was?
I'm not sure if that's actually true, but you can
He
insinuate
wasn't.
that
You sure he wasn't like joking or something?
it, whether or not he was joking, the general vibe from the audience was that husband wasn't familiar with S2J.
Hmm. Okay. That's no bueno. Hmm. Yeah, I wish I could comment more on it right now. I haven't re-listened to it.
Yeah.
All I've re-listened to so far of Pound is Homemade Waffles and Wobbles. I listened to part of Me and Fendrick. I actually re-listened to a couple sets of Me and Dunk. I had so much fun commentating with Dunk. He definitely has some goofy opinions that he's not shy about, but he's very fun to commentate with. I actually do like. I think Dunk has some potential
Yeah.
in commentary. He's just a fun guy. He's a likable guy. So I like to commentate with Dunk.
Yeah. I think the difference, like, because people are bringing up James Chen, right? James Chen is forgivable because of the position that he was placed, right? Where, like, they had to put him on, and he admitted to not knowing too much about the game, but tried his best.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for husband, we were a little less forgiving because we thought he would be credible, but wasn't, unfortunately. But like you said, I think they have a lot of the base tech skill of commentary done well. They just need the game knowledge, right?
You're talking about husband and
Husband
wife.
wife, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They definitely have synergy, for sure. Just listening to their past stuff. Um, but I'd have to go back and re-listen to Top 8 to give a more detailed analysis. Probably most of what I'll have problems with is like factual incorrection. Um, Another thing that I read about that really concerns me was they were saying that they were being negative about certain things. That's something. Oh, that is something I did want to briefly touch on earlier.
Okay.
I
I was
forgot about.
actually going to ask you about that.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. Uh, that was something. So, Vro, right?
yes.
Vro, longtime Melee player, former top PM Ike player. Um, he did some commentary back at like Big House 2, but he hasn't really done like a lot of high profile commentary at all. And I've commentated with him a decent amount of times in like locals and regionals around Chicago. He definitely for a long time had a big problem about constantly criticizing the players' decisions, uh, saying words like no, bad, why, and why in like a negative sense. Like, why would he do that? Or why did he choose that option? You can do all the exact same things he did, where you talk about specific things that maybe, in your opinion, were incorrect or suboptimal or whatever, but you can do it in a positive fashion. And it doesn't have to be explicitly positive, it can at least be neutral. Because when you start shitting on the players when you're the commentator, it turns off everybody. And if you're a popular guy, it's a negative influence on that player as a whole, too. This is something Scar's definitely been guilty of to a very large degree. Uh, Laudandis mentioned it on the Scar and Toph show last night, how he suffered as a result of Scar and Mango's commentary of a Laudandis set during pools at Big House 4.
I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that set specifically. New York Joey tweeted at Scar, begging him to get people off his case because people would shit talk New York Joey a lot after Scar said, I just lost to this dumb Falco or whatever. And I think a lot of it is Scar's not being explicitly malicious. He just doesn't. He didn't really have a concept of what he was, of the power that he wielded. Because Scar's such a popular guy. He's very fun. People love Scar, and obviously people love Scar memes. So whenever Scar has an opinion, people sort of latch onto it.
Yeah,
and I think, not to shit on. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And I think that adds to the fact that like I have to be careful with joking, right? Because when I joke around with Mango, like we have an established relationship where he can say like "F you, Tafo, you little b," right? And I can joke around with Mango, and we're perfectly happy. But the issue is when like everybody on social media like kind of blows it out of proportion.
Yeah.
Like when it comes down to it, like Scar respects Ladandis, and he was kind of playing a joke on it, but like everybody else kind of takes it to the next level because they don't understand the context. So that's something I've learned.
Context is really important. Yeah. It's all about context. I'm trying to think of another example of that too. Negativity. When you don't credit a player.
Ooh,
when you
huge.
say this guy played bad. I actually did that once this weekend. I can't remember the example. But I tried to make it clear that I wasn't like totally discrediting. I think it was shit. What was it? I think it was like Chew versus Hacks maybe that I commentated. I can't. No, maybe not that set. I don't remember. There was one specific game that I commentated where I was like, man, that player just actually played really bad that game. And I tried to say something like, oh, not discredit the other guy. I think it might have been Chew Hacks. I don't know. I have to go back and find it again.
Yeah, I think
whoever was with me was like, no, you kind of did discredit him. And I was like, yeah, I guess I did. But, that wasn't my intention.
I think the best way I balanced that is, like, although the player was playing bad, like, the other player was good enough to punish properly and put himself in a position to win.
I love that. I say that a lot, too. And that's actually not just something specific to me or that you... It's something that I do like that I see more commonly in commentary. Is they'll be like, he did a bad job, but... Not only did he do a bad job, the other guy took the punish to the max and took a stock for it. Like, it was a great punish as well. So you can make it a point of both at the exact same time.
Yeah. Because capitalization is also part of the game and mistakes are part of the game, right? And if you can't capitalize off of mistakes, you're not going to be good at the game.
Right. At the base level, the game is an execution test. And then at the next level beyond that, it's the whole other level of strategy and how you approach the matchup and all kinds of other shit like that. But you have to be able to do things first before you can worry about any of that other stuff.
And then sometimes I say this player messed up less, and so he deserves credit for winning.
Yeah.
Because that's important, right?
Honestly, that's pretty much what Melee will always be. Because there's no way anyone's going to ever play Melee perfectly for an entire set. Maybe eventually. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe 2032 will come around and everyone's just going to be amazing. Colt SSBM with my favorite phrase, at a human level. That's perfect.
At a human level.
At a human level.
Who started that meme?
That was... It's one of the... I think it might have been Prince Abu. I don't know. At least Abu popularized it. I'm not sure if he came up with it or not.
I feel like if we were to put a poll on it, I would think Ladanis would be on that list.
Yeah.
Toph would be on that list.
Definitely.
Prince
Toph for
Abu,
sure. Abi. Uh-huh. Um,
KGH,
yeah, Kalindi to a lesser extent, but for sure.
and who's the guy you mentioned again? I just forgot.
uh, Wait, before that?
Yeah, the
Abu was
before.
the one I
Oh,
said.
okay, Abu.
Yeah.
Definitely Abu.
Hmm.
That troll.
Yeah.
So top eight has its own standards and expectations, has the largest audience. What do you think about top 32 and like, I guess also pools in terms of liberties that you have that may not be in top eight?
Pools require a completely different skill set than top eight commentary because pools, you're often going to run into not the most high level or dynamic matches. It's going to be guys who are expected to lose, who might upset. Maybe they'll play really well. Um, Second and third seeds playing each other can often lead into upsets. Even first and second or first and third seeds. But you need to be able to have entertaining pools commentary. So you need to be a personality on your own as well, and someone who can, I hate to use the word entertain too much, but that's pretty much what it comes down to. Um, at big majors, I think you can make a point, especially during like large scale pools, like what was happening at Pound this weekend, where it's all these pools going on at once, and once you start getting towards the end of those pools, you can talk a little bit about upsets and stuff. Um, but like pools, you don't have to be super technically knowledgeable. You can just be an entertaining person. That's where I think you should bring in a lot of top players who aren't used to commentary and have them do blocks and pools. If they want to do more commentary, that's a good place to start them. You don't want to instantly throw them on a top 64 or top 32 block. But dude, people already are big fans of those players. They're recognizable. And so you can go ahead and, put them on where they can have an opportunity to, workshop their own commentary, get their name out more often, or, anything you want. So you put uh, regional commentators who want to step their game up to the next level on during pools, and you put on like top players who want to start doing commentary who haven't done a lot of commentary in the past, or you put on like a fun duo like Mango Scar, Big House 4, which is some of my favorite pools commentary of all time. I think Mop Bob made the Mango Scar highlight video from their pools block. I love that video. There's parts of it that are egregious offenses against commentary where they're just like shitting on players. And I think at one point Mango recognizes that and he says, Scar, I think most of our commentary is just us making fun of the players. And it's like super true.
But the way they like react to that
But the way that they
realization
did
was
it, yeah, it's like it kind of like makes up for it. So, Pools commentary is kind of its own beast. For top 32 and top 64, a lot of that is like just as hype as top 8, if not more hype. I think this pound at top 32 was more hype than the top 8 for sure.
yeah.
Aside from the Laudandis miracle run to fifth place. Actually, I'm not even going to say miracle run. I'm going to say the Laudandis. It was an eventuality that he would get top 6 at a major. It was just going to happen eventually. Just in the same way that he's going to win a major eventually because he's Laudandis, and the rate at which he improves will only increase. But aside from that storyline, Mango Hacks was really fun. But HBox was just dialed in, and just kind of like the fact that Mango didn't get 2 sets against him kind of like made it really difficult for him. And we got a Sheik Ditto, which is always a little harder.
Dude, I love
Because
Sheik Dittos.
I understand that. But as far as top 8 and hype is concerned, the layman will not appreciate Sheik Dittos as much as you will. And you need a special commentary Ditto to like really bring a Sheik Ditto to life and make sure that the general populace is able to appreciate it as much as the legendary Tafokints can.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, it's tough. Uh, but like in this top 32, like there was some sick sets between hacks like popping off against Nintendude, Gravy upsetting Axe, round 1 of pools of top 192 when Duck went into losers immediately. Mac D lost infinite numbers. Oh, Duck losing to Bizarro, I should say. I should mention that. Mac D losing infinite numbers. Infinite numbers, I mean, just going on his whole run to begin with. Like, that was insane. Yeah, there was just so many upsets. That it was insane. Round 2 was sick. So, you definitely have to also have pretty solid commentators for like top 32, top 64.
What do
There,
you?
there's like a little zone in between pools. Like there's pools round one, which is meh. The pools round two, which is like can be good, but you know, you can sneak some newer players or commentators in there to try to like get their feet wet. But then also you might have some six sets, so you might miss out on good commentary for that. I'm not saying that those new guys won't do good commentary, but they just run the risk being newer commentators or less experienced commentators. And then the further you get up there, you need guys who can sort of, and I don't even want to say like break down the match, but at least be able to bring the match to the viewers at home.
Yeah.
That's that's a good phrase, I think. To be able to bring the match to the viewers in such a way that it enhances and entertains.
Right. Do you think you could handle four person commentary?
No. Three person actually I think can work. Maybe. Smash is such a fast game. It's really difficult to do three person even. Four person commentary would just be a disaster.
The couch.
The couch. Four person commentary for something like Summit is perfect. Five would be sick for Summit. Shit.
Dude, it's so funny. It's actually
Yeah, it's
really
amazing.
fun.
Yeah, I can't wait for this summit. I actually know a secret about this summit that I was told earlier today that not very many people know about that I will not reveal. I've already revealed one giant secret that I run SSP comms. Um, I never actually thought I would tell anybody that, but I figured now would be a good time.
Yeah.
I haven't really tweeted anything on there recently, and I've actually regretted making it recently because some people latch onto it in a negative sense, and it's just supposed to be commentary tropes. That's the whole idea of it. I made one early tweet that was a little bit mean-spirited. The tweet was something like player who goes 0-2 like criticizes decisions of player in grand finals, which I think is a bad tweet to make, that I shouldn't have made it. Um, oh, D1's mad at me. I'm sorry, D1.
Dude.
It was not a rip on you directly. It's just that you're the face of commentary, so I had to use your picture first for it. I've rotated the pictures, okay? I rotate the pictures on it. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
Um, so,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna be at the Five Gods, by the way, or Five Gods Smash Summit.
You're going?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I actually, I don't know if I should spoil it.
Oh. Oh, should you spoil it?
Well, why else would I be there? I guess is the question that people should be able to answer.
Because you've secretly been lathing your Sheik with Mango.
Yes.
And now you think you're a top 10 player in the world and you want to prove to everybody
Absolutely.
the truth. Mm-hmm.
Dude, you get so much friendly time with everybody. It's ridiculous. I didn't take advantage of that last time. But I actually worked on a JSON file, so it's like JavaScript, where they type in two names and they get a data dump, which automatically goes into the overlay.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that we've really been missing. Is like, and it's you're the only one who's like trying to bring it to Smash, really, and you've done some of it, the scrolling statistics, the ESPN kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm hyped for that, man.
So I don't know how it's going to happen since
I literally have no idea how you have time to do all this stuff. You're an insane scheduler. How do you schedule things so effectively? Write a book about it.
I should. I mean, I've been doing Tafo tips lately as a sub-segment
Tips.
on YouTube.
TTs. I like it.
What I do is, I mean, if we're to answer honestly, I'm freelancing for 4 sites, by the way.
I know a couple of them. Yahoo. You've been pimping out Yahoo Esports with Travis Gifford.
Yes.
Young, or not even young Trav, old Trav at this point. Are you doing ESPN?
Yeah,
Right?
I do ESPN.
Okay. ESPN?
Red Bull. And
Red Bull. That's right. I should have known Red Bull. I don't know what the fourth is, though.
And Splice, which...
Oh, okay. Cool.
So, it's going to be...
Splice is formerly the like esports
Follow
sketch.
Esports.
Follow Esports. That's what it was. Yeah. Okay. You're nutty, man. You're nuts.
So I guess what I do is this. I mean, I talk about it all the time, right? Like, I set very small blocks of time to do certain things. So rather than say, like, I need to get this article done by next Thursday, I say, like, I need to get this article done by within an hour. And that way, because like if you're procrastinating, you're not going to finish that until like the last minute, because
Hmm.
you finish an assignment according to like how long you actually have. But what I find when I do that is I waste brain resources the entire week, because it's always on the back of my mind and it's stressing me out. It's like, oh, I got to write this article.
It's like you've got background processes running. You don't want those background processes. You don't want to have too much going on unnecessarily.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a genius.
So every night, I mean, I just literally say like, what are the one to three things that I want to get done, and I just do it. I say like, okay, I want to do a Tafo talk for 3 hours, done.
Hmm.
Afterwards, I need to take like a 30-minute rest, and then after that, like before I go to bed, I need to write a paper by 10, and that's how I regiment myself. Because otherwise, like if I'm not doing that and like I'm kind of like lottie dottie, then I end up on YouTube, I end up on Facebook, or write 2 sentences for an article, go back to YouTube, go back to Facebook, and I don't get anything done.
Right.
So that's how I do it.
I'm actually the worst human on the face of the earth at time management. Um, it is real bad. So I'm gonna take that tip and I'm gonna try to apply it to my life for a while. I don't know. I'm just gonna
Awesome.
start doing it.
And the thing that gave me a lot of insight was that my bio teacher in high school is actually really good. Learned a lot from him in the year, but my biggest complaint, even in high school, was like I just never felt I had time for anything, and so our teacher actually made us chart out in 15-minute increments like what we spent our time on for like the entire week as a homework assignment.
Hmm.
And like I realized that like I was wasting like there was like 4 to 5 hours within like the waking day that I was like wasting time,
Interesting.
and I didn't realize how much time I was wasting until like I saw that. Not to say like I'm not this robot that
It's not like you clock in, like, okay, 15 minutes,
yeah, like
start, and then you
I
just like sit down and you're just like
yeah. I mean, I need to unwind. I need to have fun. I
15
need to
minutes, melee.
relax.
Yeah.
I need to unwind. I need to have fun. I need to relax. So don't get me wrong, but like I realized that there was a lot of time that I was not being productive as much as I
Hmm.
should, and a lot of it came from trying to multitask. Where I would have my YouTube browser brought up while I was reading my history textbook, and
Hmm.
I found that
You're not really focusing on either.
yeah, and
Yeah.
when I do those two things like separately, like it took me like 2 hours to do. When like I just read the history book, it took me like 15 to 20 minutes, and I realized like if I can do those separately, like I can get more done, and so that helped me out a lot.
That's smart. These are all habits that I still have that are bad that you keep saying that you correct.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people do have them actually. Yeah.
I mean, I think the big thing that could kind of help you push your limits and see like how you can find more time is like putting yourself in a position where you have to do that, because like I think your mind in like your discipline will come out and you will find a way to adapt, and when else you're like, oh wow, like I could really juggle all this, like your habits will improve.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody's experienced that at one point where you get to a point where you literally have to do that assignment that you've been putting off for a week and you have 2 hours to knock it out. And you sit down and you finish it in an hour and a half. And it's not great, but you did it. And it's like, oh, uh, I guess, yeah, that was not that bad to just do it.
Yeah,
So everyone's experienced that at some point. It's just a matter of doing it consistently.
definitely. So like
Hmm.
you'll surprise yourself. Like article writing when I first started was really bad, but then I was like, I want to give myself 30 minutes to just draft it, just like barf it out, and I realized I could write a lot, and then I could just fine tune it later.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of writing. Like I said, I was a journalism minor, so I know all about writing and redrafting things and allotting specific amounts of time and setting your own deadlines for that kind of stuff. But that was all something stuff that I had to do because there was someone who was applying those deadlines. When I have to apply the deadlines to myself, it's much more difficult.
mm,
So that is something that I will work on.
awesome. I think you
Tafo,
can do it.
thank you for the tips.
Is there anything else we want to talk about?
I don't really have anything specific commentary related. If there's anybody in chat who has anything that they want me or Tafo to talk about or touch on as far as commentary.
Let's do Q&A.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do a little mini Q&A. It's been a fun stream. I'm glad you had me on, Tafo.
Well, you volunteered, and I was like, ooh, I've always wanted Mike Webb's being on.
Mike? Nobody calls me Mike.
I saw Mike Hayes on it, and I mixed up your names, Michael
Okay. Oh
Webber.
yeah, I see it. What's up, Mike?
Um, and so I was like, I eventually wanted you on, and this came unexpectedly. So I was like, oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
All right, we got a bunch of stuff. Why don't you pick something out first?
Okay, let's see. We already touched on husband and wife. What does Webbs think about DJ and Omni eating during commentary?
Were they doing that this weekend?
So the little background story was DJ and Omni, I think, played, and then they went straight to commentary, and they're really hungry. So Omni was like, "Does anybody want to order us a pizza?" And somebody
Oh, I
actually
did
ordered
hear
them
about that.
a
Somebody
pizza.
actually ordered. I guess it was someone in the stream who ordered them a pizza.
Yeah,
And then so they got the pizza and then they ate it on stream.
yeah.
I guess that in that specific situation, it's kind of funny, so they can get a pass on it. I wouldn't generally eat on stream. I remember at Super Sweet in 2014, Scar was scarfing some Jimmy John's, and he was doing it really well. We're like, you didn't know he was eating because he would take a big bite and like just like chew through it. I was at the event, so I was watching him do this. He would take a fat bite and just like chew through it super fast, swallow it, and then get back to commentary. And then friggin' Gimmer, right after a game ends, just cuts right back to him right as he's like about to take like a giant bite. And he's like, he like puts the sandwich down. He's like, Gimmer, are you serious right now? He's like, Gimmer just got him real good. Uh, I guess you generally don't eat on commentary, is what I would say.
I think it
Pretty
was an
dumb.
endearing moment. Only could be done
Yeah,
through
that
bounce.
is like most of the instances where people eat on commentary, it's more of like a funny thing, uh, because they make like a bit out of it. And if it's pools, I guess who really cares? If it's a regional and it's like not top eight of the regional, not that bad. Um, it's just kind of like a situational thing. In general, don't do it. You can make it kind of cute and funny and get away with it. What do I think about Hugo eating Slim Jims? I think that was the pinnacle of eating on commentary. That no one will ever be able to touch it. No one can even come close to that. That was one of the funniest things. When I saw that YouTube video, I was freaking cracking up. The sound was so disgusting. It was perfect. It was so funny.
D1 was asking about his commentary. So in context, D1, I only really saw you with Prague, and I loved it. I think you guys had good chemistry. Um, Talked about the match pretty well. Had good energy. I don't think anything went wrong. I thought it was really good. I don't remember anything like being bad or anything.
Hmm. I got to commentate with Prague for 2 or 3 sets when Dunk had to go play pools during my block with Dunk, and Prague was in the zone. He was feeling it. I feel like he kind of misses commentary a little bit, uh, and you could tell that this weekend when he was on the mic because he had such great energy and he had so many things to say, and the way that he approaches talking about matchups and like the game itself are timeless because he won't talk about meta or what is good and what is bad. Aside from very general accepted concepts that are pretty much irrefutable. Um, and he is always involving his co-commentator in a very positive way that brings both of you up when you guys talk together like that. So I think Prague did an amazing job, and I imagine that it was only better with UD because you guys have such good synergy
Yeah.
and always have had it. I'd have to go back and listen to it, but I'm sure you guys killed it.
And I think, well, like the main thing is that Prague's energy levels depends on his health at the tournament, and from
That's
my
true.
understanding, he did.
Yeah.
His health was good, whereas like I think in previous tournaments where people were like starting to say like Prague's tournament kind of like hasn't been as good, it was largely due to the fact that he hasn't he has to like balance like his health and energy as he's commentating, and that's really hard to do.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see what else we got here.
Let's see. I just FYI, I didn't really look at the Reddit comments left yet. Pound 6 or Pound 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I
I saw
looked.
when the thread got posted, but I haven't read it yet.
Same here. And then yeah, so I always saw it when there was like 20 comments in it, so I don't have much of an idea. And I think well, like the main thing is that Prague's energy levels depends on his health at the tournament, and from my understanding, he did. He his health was good, whereas like I think in previous tournaments where people were like starting to say like Prague's tournament kind of like hasn't been as good, it was largely due to the fact that he hasn't he has to like balance like his health and energy as he's commentating, and that's really hard to do. Let's see.
mm, 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 mm.
I remember you mentioning at a weekly that you don't think swearing takes away from commentary. Do you think this applies to commentary at majors or only at the local level? And this is directly to you.
Uh, don't swear at majors because you're reaching a much wider audience, and you don't want to like uh, make the experience negative for people. Um, I mean, it's not like it adds anything to commentary. It might add a little bit of flavor, kind of, but you can get away with not swearing and it being just as entertaining or flavorful. And with a younger audience or even an older audience that has, or like a parent that has a kid that's watching, that's something that might turn them off. And there's no reason to like, to turn off anybody who might be enjoying it. Um, at like a local level, if you are swearing just to swear, like there's a guy from Chicago who he moved to Dallas. His name's Pooch, and a lot of Pooch has probably the most polarizing commentary of any person I've ever heard commentate Smash as a whole. Uh, he's a very funny guy. He's hilarious, but he gets wrapped up in himself sometimes, and he'll start swearing like way too much, or get into these inside jokes or making very very crude comments to a level beyond what is necessary. When he's in his like little zone where he's not over the top and he's like being funny and like off the cuff and stuff, he can be very very good. But way too often he would take it like way too far, and he's a guy who's super guilty of being negative about the players on stream, very negative about the players on stream, which is something I super hate. So swearing can be fine if you do it correctly, like Pooch does sometimes. But if you take it too far or you make your commentary about the fact that you're swearing, like look at these chats, these Pooch. We've got Pooch, I love Pooch, Pooch Ramad, I hate Pooch. It's like it goes both ways. There's no people who just like Pooch. There's people who love Pooch and people who hate him because he's a polarizing figure, and it's a little bit what I talked about before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think one of the moments I think could have used a curse word instead of like a filtered word was definitely the Lord versus SJ moment.
Oh yeah.
Where like
no, right.
I think
I
Toph
could use
was
the
confused.
whole shit right there.
I think Toph was conflicted at that moment. Like he was like, "What the?" And he was like, "Oh wait, maybe I shouldn't swear." Crap.
Yeah, he's like crap. That's right.
So
Yeah.
I think there are certain things where like the curse, the swear word is needed because that's like your reactions, like holy,
Yeah.
But there
Definitely.
are moments where like, I mean, I talked about this earlier. When you describe everything at a high level, then it's no longer a high level moment.
Yeah. Oh, hey, that's a very good point to make. I like that a lot. You have to differentiate. Not everything's amazing.
Yes.
Only some things are.
Is there any?
Anything else we got here? I got the chat talking about Pooch now. D1 is super cute. I bet he is a good kisser too.
I heard he's quite a ladies' man. But
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Do you think it's appropriate to ban complainers, haters, sarcastic people from chat? That's actually a question for Dingus Master. Dingus Master, Lord of the Chat, #1 national tournament chat moderator. Dingus, you in here? Where you at?
I have a question for you. How do you think pairing should be done? Because that's a responsibility of people like Fendrick Lamar.
I haven't really thought about that. You definitely have certain pairings that you want to hit if they're there at a national. Obviously, Scar and Toph. Back when Prague was still commentating, you wanted to hit D1 in Prague. Actually, I can't really think of any others off the top of my head. Am I missing one? No?
I'm sure there's other pairs, right? I mean, husband and wife, right?
Yeah, I guess husband and wife. Those guys will always go together. But you want to also introduce new dynamics as well. There's guys who float around who don't really have dedicated partners who are pretty solid, like Vish or Chroma. And you have to match them up somehow. Oh yeah, obviously homemade waffles and Phil. What am I? I'm so dumb. TK and EE. Yeah, 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 yeah. Like the staples. Um, but you also have to push people outside of their comfort zone sometimes. And I think it's good to take those duos apart occasionally, not always, and set them up with people they're not usually used to commentating with. Always put yourself out of your comfort zone. That's something I learned at a young age, and that I think applies to throughout life and in commentary definitely as well.
I think there are certain pairings that like you should avoid. So our philosophy at SSS is we never put two new players together
Hmm.
because like it's just a recipe for disaster. It's not going to work out. Their game knowledge isn't good enough.
Yeah, that's a pretty simple one. Yeah,
Like
it makes sense.
like no offense to Ipengu, I thought that Ipengu did a good job, but I felt that if he had a person that was a little bit more knowledgeable about the game, I think he could have thrived a little bit more.
Oh, because it was him and Reslib, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
not
actually a block that I do want to go back and listen to as well because I was really interested to hear how they did.
like they sounded good, but a lot of their information was slightly off, and it looked like, from my opinion, in my perspective, it looked like Ipengu was like kind of conflicted on how to go in response in the dynamics.
Yep.
Um, but
Hmm.
I think he could have shined a lot more if he had a lot more technical commentator.
Yeah. What do you think about solo commentary, Tafo?
Um, I don't think it's I don't think it's a bad idea.
Yeah. Do you, what do you think about it for like when you have multiple streams going on for top 64 or top 32? Do you think it's okay, or do you think you should always pair?
I think if the dynamics are there,
I don't
then
think you can do it because there's so many people who want to commentate. But this is just a hypothetical. Go ahead.
well, like if you already had, let's say there's four streams and you had four like really good pairs already, then I don't think there should be a reason to go solo.
Hmm.
But let's say there's like four streams and there's only two established pairs, and there's a guy like you or Wobbles or Blur that have been really good at solo, and there's no one to match you guys, then I think it's fine.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it too. Um, co-commentary is a weird thing that most people don't have experience with. Um, and I've only done it a couple times, but people really seem to like my solo commentary. I think it's because of the way that I measure my speech and I pick specific things to talk about.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. It's an underexplored topic, and I don't think it's something that'll be very huge going forward. But it's just something to think about.
Yeah. And so Ipangu was wondering like, when do I interrupt? And we discussed this earlier when like a co-commentator says something wrong.
Hmm.
I think our general philosophy is like don't dwell too much on it and kind of like try to like turn the conversation into something else.
Yeah, switching the focal point is probably the best way to do it. Sometimes I think you have to correct them, but that's kind of like in very specific situations when they say something egregiously wrong and they state it as fact, and you have to just be like, no. But even when you do that, there's no easy way to do it. It's always going to interrupt the flow if you do it. So I guess sometimes it's necessary, and you're just going to have to deal with losing some of the flow of the commentary in the process. But mostly you should deal with it in a more diplomatic sense, where you change the focal point or the topic that you're talking about, or brush by it, and then maybe come back to it. This is something that I have done once or twice, where I come back to it after the set, and I won't bring up the fact that they said the wrong thing, but I'll just say the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like sneakily make a correction of my own.
Like if somebody says Sheik has amazing approach options against Fox,
Right.
I might just say, "Oh wow!" Like, but look at that Fox turning it around with that crotch cancel
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
into
yeah.
up smash.
That's a perfect example. It's funny that you use the approach options example too, because when I was commentating with Blur and we had the one argument I keep thinking of was about Pikachu's Nair approach. Because I was talking talking about Pikachu versus Falcon, and I was like Pikachu edgeguards Falcon insanely well, but Pikachu doesn't have like a ton of approach options. So, and Prog's like, or not Prog, I don't know why I said Prog. Blur's like, what are you talking about? Pikachu's Nair is the best approach in the game, and I'm like, in the back of my head, like for a second, I was like, "Is it? Is Pikachu's Nair the best approach in the entire game?" And I had to like think about it, and it took me like a full couple seconds to like process what he said, and then make the decision to engage him in argument about this because I was like, "It can't be. There's no way I'm wrong about this." I was like, so I think what I said was like, is it?" And then we just like got in this dumb argument about it for a while.
I would just jokingly, I would just jokingly say like, but Blur, you think Pikachu's top tier?
Yeah, hey, that's a good way. You can make
Yeah,
a joke about it too. That's really good.
yeah.
That's not something that I usually do, but other people do it, and I think it is a really good way to get out of it too. I think what I chose to do was the wrong thing to do, but I was just so convicted. I was like, I have to shut Blur down. There's no way he's right about this. So I made it into a thing when I maybe shouldn't have.
Elemental pit. So he's mentioning the pit fight, and I would just say, well, it seems like there's ways to get out of it now. So I would trust that both players have a good sense of how to stop the combo and stop the bleeding. Is the way I would phrase it.
Hmm. That's a pretty good way to get around it.
Yeah.
I think it's a skill to be creative in phrasing what you're going to say about what they said when you don't quite agree with it, or when it's kind of like a negative thing that they said, or they're questioning something for no reason, or they're saying something where it's like for instance that one where I don't know why we see an infinite there. It's because it's not like the infinite's guaranteed. Like it's not like every time a fox gets a falcon in the pit, it's going to be like an infinite. There's no real reason to question it. It doesn't really add anything. But it's not like a terrible thing to say. It's not like, oh, why would he question the fact that there was an infinite? It's just kind of an odd situation where it's not really something you want to say on commentary, or make a point of. So it's just kind of weird to deal with. Let's see. There was something up here I wanted to touch on too.
I miss Fly Amanita. He's in the chat. Haven't seen
Yeah,
him in like months, even though we're from the
Fly.
same region.
I think Fly's making his come. Are you making your comeback, Fly? I think you are. Please confirm that for us. Where was that question I had? Huh. I don't know. I lost it. Any other questions? Do you see anything else that you wanted to touch on?
I mean, it feels like everything has already been talked about or answered already earlier in the stream.
Even with all the stuff that we've talked about today, there's still so much more to commentary. I think the main points that I would like people to take away from this is that commentary is a fluid thing, and you can't categorize it specifically. There's no such thing as play-by-play commentary in Smash. You can sort of talk about what just happened, but whenever you talk for too long about the plays themselves, which is play-by-play, then that's no bueno. So like Smash commentary is like a bunch of different kinds of commentary that people always talk about put together. There's like a chart, like a stat chart where like a hold on a second. Sorry. There's like a stat chart like from RPGs where you want to fill out certain stats, and it's like you only have so many points, so you allocate them, but you want to balance them. But everyone fills them out in certain ways because everyone is better or worse at certain things, and that's good because everyone has to have their own emphasis. And then the other thing I want to say was for people who are trying to get into commentary and to improve, you should just be paying attention. You should not be saying wrong things, and you should always remember that you're there to enhance and not to make the stream about you. It should be entertaining and enhancing. I've used the words entertain and enhance so much in the last hour and a half, but they're good words and they're really applicable.
I think that's a really good thought, and that's something I've been thinking about myself more. Is like the baseline is no commentary, right? Or just people just watching it. And if my commentary makes the base gameplay worse, then I need to get off the mic.
It's a net negative. Like it'd be better with just game sound. Now the other thing about that is that at like locals, you're gonna get a lot of commentary that is a net negative, but there's no other place for people to learn. So at locals, when you go into a local stream with like 40 viewers, and it's just like, there's one good player there, like Kells is just kicking the shit out of everybody in Chicago. Just be respectful to the players, to the commentators, as long as they're making an effort to improve and learn, because they have to start somewhere. If you go back and re-listen to some of my commentary from early 2014, I'm sure it's fucking awful. But I don't know if much of it exists anymore. So good luck finding it.
Stream, if you can find it, post the link in the chat.
I definitely know there are some of them out there. So you can find it if you want.
I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Captain Face Roll.
Captain Face Roll is going to be the death of Melee. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Oh well, rip Melee.
Okay, there's one last question you can ask. Elemental Penguin was talking about how NMW thinks that the player skill of the commentator needs to be at least the level of the people playing.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's the case, then that's a paradox, because if they were really better than them, then they would still be in the tournament. Oh wait, no, he's saying...
Wait, what is it? What exactly?
Okay, never mind. I misread the question. I'm sorry. NMW is a person who's adamant about higher skill being necessary for any commentator. And while obviously player skill is always helpful for any commentator, what do you think about it in terms of necessity?
I think it's much easier to be a good commentator if you're a really good player, but you can develop the skills necessary to be a good commentator and an average player. I'm not very good at Melee. And not to John, but I think a lot of the reason I'm not very good at Melee is because I spent a lot of my time when I go to tournaments commentating. When I started off early on, it wasn't something that I got into the Smash community because of the community itself. It had a lot to do with the game too, but what really made me join the Smash community was watching the documentary and the way that Samox framed the community as a whole. Because I've been through a lot of different online game communities in the past, most of them with real life friends that I've known for a long time. And there's always been a disconnect where, it's fun, I enjoy it, I meet some people, but there's nothing that really keeps me with it for an insanely long period of time. The only other one besides Smash that I could really think of would have been like Halo 2 and the Halo series, where I met a lot of cool people who I became friends with. But Smash was something where you had to play with people in person in 2014, which was totally different. Like everything was online at that point. So the fact of the matter is, wait, I forgot where I was going with this. What was I talking about to begin with?
Well, you were mentioning how like you're not a good player and part
Oh,
of
right.
it, yeah.
So when I became like when I got into the Chicago scene and I started doing things, it was not so much for me about being an amazing player. At first, it was about becoming a community member, and then I started to actually get into the game more and understand it, and it actually made me want to be a really good player. So for like a while, I stopped commentating at locals and stuff, and I put a lot of time into it, and I got quite a bit better. I got to like a decent level where I don't suck, and I can nearly make it out of pools at nationals. Like I got 4th in my pool in Pound. I nearly made it out. But I still understand the game at like a decent level. So it's not like I'm a genius about the game or anything. I can understand it well enough. And I think what NMW probably underrates is a person's ability to
Communicate.
Yes, and focus on what's actually happening in a meaningful manner, both with your co-commentator and to the stream. As a really good, amazing top sick player, I'm sure NMW would like more critical analysis in his commentary, but not everyone is looking for that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Considering
That was not quite as eloquent as I wanted it to be, but I think you got the general idea.
considering like most of the other I mean, commentators and coaches like aren't like in the realm of sports and other esports even like they're not all of them are professional level, but they study the game enough to know the base level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think on the flip side, once in a while, I think it's nice to have like a Mango or a PP commentate.
Yeah.
And I think that's their appeal, but I don't think it's like mandatory to be a good commentator.
Not at all. It helps a lot. I'll tell you that much.
It does. It
Yeah.
certainly helps. So I wouldn't.
Definitely.
I hope people don't take away saying like, "Oh, I don't need to learn the game." I think, in all due respect, you need to continue to study the game and evolve yourself in knowledge to continue to be, a solid commentator.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I would agree with that.
Any other questions? I don't think there's anything else.
Excuse me. I'm sorry I'm coughing so much. I'm still getting over this poundemic.
Jeez.
Somebody named it the poundemic. I think it was Swerve Knights. No, was it Swerve? Or was it Will? Or is Swerve Will?
I have no idea.
Can't remember what Will's tag is. I just know him as Will now.
I think I had a long run of every Smash major in the East Coast. Like I'd get sick, but I think the last one I went to, I didn't get sick.
Look, there it is. Your immune system is building up.
Wait, actually, no, I lied. I got sick 2 weeks. I got sick a week after.
Oh, Sincere Zero as well. I'm so dumb.
Apex 2015. Do you remember that?
Apex 2015.
Everybody got sick a week after. Sick? It wasn't like immediately after. It was like a week after.
It was delayed. It was like it planted the seed in your lungs and then slowly it spread throughout your body. That was awful. That hit me too.
I hate sickness.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you?
Not a big fan of it. Actually, I've been taking medicine every day since last Friday, and I've not really improved at all. And in fact, today I felt worse. So if tomorrow I wake up and I feel even worse, I'm gonna go to the doctor and see if like something's actually sincerely wrong with me. I hope not.
I hope not.
I don't like doctors. Yeah.
Well, all right.
Man.
Let's put an end to this.
Sounds
Thanks for
good.
coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I would like to do this more in the future if you're down to have me on. It doesn't have to necessarily be about commentary, but I watch a shitload of Melee, so I can just talk about whatever.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm totally down. I need more guests than Blur all the time.
Yeah, you do have Blur on quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, like the thing is in our community, I don't have too many people I can reliably banter with. Juggle Guy's usually busy with big house stuff, and it's usually the Juggle Guy, Crimson Blur, and Tafo banter.
The trio of terror.
Yes.
Yeah, Juggle Guy's actually real busy losing money in side bets lately.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know how he ended up doing at Pound. Maybe he came out positive in the end.
Did you hear about Evo, by the way? And speaking of gambling,
what specifically about Evo?
So Mr. Wizard, the head TO of Evo, is in talks with the Nevada Gaming Commission.
Okay.
And I guess what I interpret from this is that they might put top 8 on the gambling books, similar to sports.
Oh, I did hear about that. Oh shit, that's sick. Actually, that's dangerous, is what it is.
It is. You come from StarCraft, so you should know all about this.
Oh yeah, I know all about the fucking scandals dating back to Brew War.
I think my worry is that like Evo is notorious for low price pots. Like, what if it comes to the point like 2 to 3 years down the line?
Already this year, if it ends up happening, you could make way more money by throwing matches. That's scary, man. That's terrifying.
I think, fortunately for Smash, like there's way too much pride for them to throw matches at this point in time.
I hope so. Yeah.
And I think for the FGC, there's a lot of pride, but like I don't know what the dollar amount is before somebody goes. Huh.
Yeah, but we don't know about the pocket community yet, man. Those guys could be total morons. We have no idea. They are yet to be decided. Is that how you pronounce it? Pokken?
I think it's Pokken, similar to how Tekken sounds.
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
Pokken, Tekken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm going to worry about. I was thinking about writing an article on that. on gambling and at Evo.
You should. That's actually important. There's a history in esports with that stuff too, man. StarCraft first and foremost.
CS:GO.
CS:GO in recent history.
Even in
I mean, there's
sports.
been collusion in Smash in the past before, where people have like split pots and shit. But it's always on such a smaller scale. So
I can't.
that's a what, you can't think of an example?
Well, baseball actually had scandals
Oh yeah,
in the
Pete
old
Rose.
days. So it's an interesting dilemma. I hope it doesn't play out in an ugly way, but knowing how people are, it's gonna happen eventually. I think everybody eventually has a price.
Yeah, it's
Unfortunately.
like the game you play with your friends, like the gay game. How much would it take? How much money would it take?
Yeah.
Everybody's played that game. Don't act like you haven't played that game, Stream.
I played that game before.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely, dude. Everyone's got a price. You start to really learn who's who when you play that game.
Alrighty. Well,
Um,
thanks for coming on. We'll have a lot more of these.
yeah, definitely. Everyone, you can follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/web smash. I'm actually going to type in chat. You can go ahead and follow this young link real quick. Here we go. And something I do want to plug. I am now capable of streaming. I have a new PC. I streamed like twice so far. I streamed myself playing Netplay once, and that was kind of fun. I had like maybe 20 people come by for that, and then I did a bedtime story stream where I read a bedtime story, like a 10-minute long bedtime story to a bunch of people who came in. And I'm gonna keep doing that. That's gonna be a regular thing. I'm gonna do it like a couple nights a week.
Maybe you
Where
can read to hacks.
oh yeah, get some what is it called, ASMR or something like that,
I don't know.
where it's like the sounds that relax people or whatever. If you guys have any suggestions, you can tweet at me what you think I should read for a bedtime story. And I'm gonna make a little schedule and a little stream overlay and stuff, and you guys can go to sleep with webs. So
With
not
webs?
not in a sexual manner,
But everybody
not
has
in
a
a physical
price.
manner.
But
But
everybody has a
everybody
price.
has a price. That's true. Hit me up with your best offers.
Damn.
All right, that's
All
enough
right.
for
Well,
today.
thanks for coming in, and yeah, have a good night.
You too, Tafo. Good talking to you.
All right.